Hi, I'm Matthew Malcolm with American Vineyard Magazine, reporting to you from Fresno. Here today, Central Valley wine grape growers attended a viticulture research roadshow where they were able to learn various ways to improve the structure of their vineyards from farm advisor Larry Bettiga.
Again, for high vigor situations, the other alternate route was to look at these split type horizontal split canopies, either going down or going up. So what we talked about today was vineyard design, and again, vineyard design, there's really three important components of that. There's the vine spacing, which of course is the space between the rows, but also the space down the row. The other thing would be the row orientation, and then the third thing would be selecting an appropriate trellis design and a training system that the vines would be trained to on that trellis design. In regards to the vine spacing, again, probably the most important factor as far as having an influence on vine yield or yield on a per acre basis is the actual row spacing. So there's been several studies that have shown as we moved the traditional 12-foot row and brought those rows closer together, that compared to a 12-foot spacing, you get about a 6 to 10% yield increase per every foot that you decrease that row. Now the other component would be down the row or in-row spacing, and again that spacing should be based on the anticipated vigor of the plants. And so we want the vines spaced either at a distance where you get uniform shoot development. And so again, studies have shown as we move away from that, or maybe that optimum situation, that sometimes we get a lack of uniformity of shoot growth. Sometimes we potentially get weak growth at the ends of the cordons, and so then that's why we want them a little closer together. In regards to the row orientation, generally a true north-south row orientation gives us probably the most uniform balanced type of light interception on the canopy. But again, with that comes maybe a little bit more potential for some sunburn issues or excessive heat, especially on systems where there's a fair amount of cluster exposure. And so with those type of systems, especially at the VSPs where oftentimes there is quite a bit of fruit exposure, in hot climates you can get a fair amount of burn or a lack of color development on that west side of the canopy. So we do know that if we change the orientation maybe more to the northeast, we can minimize that on VSPs. But oftentimes, on many sites, the row orientations can be based on land parcel. Sometimes it's more economically or more efficiently to farm with long rows, and so oftentimes there's more than just light interception. We do see changes in selective row orientation based off of things such as soil uniformity. Also, hillside might dictate a different row orientation from what you might consider might be optimum for the vines. And so we kind of have to put all those things into place. And again, when it comes to trellis design or what trellis goes in the vineyard, it really should be somewhat based on the anticipated vigor of the plants, and of course our goal is to put in a trellis system and train the vines in such a way that we kind of optimize the exposure of both the canopy to get the most effective light interception, but also to get the most desirable exposure for the clusters. And so depending on the site, whether it's hot or cold, we may want to get more or less exposure of the clusters, and especially in the hot areas we want to somewhat protect the clusters to avoid any kind of sunburn or excessive heat that may influence color development.
Learn more about improving your vineyards for greater yields and efficiency by reading American Vineyard Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.